thank you to all of you for having me here today. I want to talk to you about open BIM standards and this type of thing, but there's no doubt in the world we're in at the moment, we're surrounded by technological change and we're experiencing disruption in government as well as society and our industries. Having said that, the construction industry has just been a bit meh. The way I do my things now, I might use some pretty smart tools, but a lot of it's within the same framework as what I started in 1982. Now, by comparison, when I started my first business in 1992, I used a piece of accounting software to do the books. And it was pretty shit, but it was way better than the way that my old man had done it. So he was scheduling on graph paper. And I used a piece of software that ran on Windows. I think it was on floppy disk. It used to freeze and fail a lot, but it was a lot better. The type of software that we use within construction now is a bit like that as well. It's hard to use. It takes a lifetime to learn it, and when you do, you're just about ready to die. The other thing is it's not open, so sharing that information is difficult. So once you master it, it's time to move on. Now, thinking about that accounting software, I recently started my second business. I flogged my old quantity surveying business and I started a new one. I used the same brand of software. The way it had developed is phenomenal. I could use it anywhere in the world from any device that I want. It's got hundreds of apps, maybe thousands. They actually work. They fit together. The best thing of all is it updates its own data. I don't have to build a library for it. I don't have to put templates in it. It does this itself. Even better, if I get the shits with it, I can stop paying the bill at the end of the month, export my data and import it into another platform. So it's cool. Now, we can make excuses about construction and the complexities of it, but this is where our software needs to get to. It needs to become intuitive and it needs to work and be easy to use, particularly if we're going to do these things at scale. And this is why I got involved in Building Smart. I didn't realise at the time, I thought I was going to come up with a cool way to be able to do quantity surveying. But essentially what I learned is that Building Smart is about challenging the vendors to provide us with better tools. And why that is because Alan used this graph yesterday, and I'd like this to become the new BIM wheel that gets shown everywhere. The way we communicate in construction is like a whole bunch of jellyfish, and it's Chinese whispers. So we have information that's being passed around, and our supply chain is extremely long. So what starts as the message at the beginning isn't necessarily what is there at the end. When we look at something like financial services, I mean, they don't lose money anymore. They all use bespoke software to do what they do, but when they communicate in the same language. And this is what we need to move towards in construction. So in terms of Building Smart and what we are, we're a not-for-profit organisation. We rely completely on volunteers to do the work that we do, and we fund ourselves through our members. We operate in Australia and New Zealand, but essentially we do two things. We help create and develop technical standards that are about information exchange, and that's it. And that one is known as IFC. It's one of the many standards there. But the other thing is we advocate for BIM and open data exchange, and the reason we do that is because it's good. Now, one of the big pieces of work that I want to, and this work is getting larger, it's only just commenced. So this is like a tripartite agreement, if you like, between Building Smart Australasia, GS1, and then also BIM MEP Oz. And what this is about is actually the standards collaborating because each of them are very good at what they do in the way they do it. And they've been doing it for a long time. GS1 have been identifying products for about 40 or 50 years, I think it is, Bonnie. BIM MEP Oz are 10 years old now. Who knew they'd even get this far? At Building Smart, it's sort of in the 90s that we started developing these types of files. What this is about is getting down to traceability and authentication. So when we communicate, we don't actually know if what we specified is in a building. How we find about non-compliance is when it either falls down or burns. And then we start looking at what went wrong. So if we can set up a system where we can have information coming down the supply chain, which is very long, that is got those design parameters in it, and we can also identify what the product is that went in, we can start to validate and actually have something to rely on, rather than looking at a consultant certificate or a certifier that says this building complies. It's an impossible task for that person to do. So that's what this is about. In terms of finding out what BIM Map Oz and Building Smart are doing, see this guy. John Merchant can make a toaster talk to a kettle. He's out in the lobby and he's able to demonstrate how you can export from BIM Map Oz standards to IFC. And this is, at this point, it's just something you need to get your head around. So these technical standards, I said we started in 1994. We're now working on IFC 5, which will be released in 2020, but the technical work will be completed this year. This was all gobbledygook until it became an international standard in 2013, and that's when IFC became a thing. And this is why it's something to rely upon. It's also been adopted as an Australian standard in 2017. In terms of IFC 5, that will be completed at the end of this year, it's all about infrastructure. So everything to do with IFC in the past has been about buildings. It can be applied to infrastructure, but it has the wrong terms. So really, this is about developing the new standards that start to look at linear projects. And that's online for completion at the end of this year. So why now? Why do you need to know about Open BIM? People have been banging on about it since 1994, but why now? And the reason is it's being asked for. So government, between just Queensland, Victoria and New South Wales, have $210 billion worth of projects that will be delivered in the next 4 years, and they're all requiring open data exchange. As well as that, we have the release of ISO 19650, and it's unlocked the how. Now, it's not the magic bullet, but it does set in place the breadcrumbs for us to follow and to use the same terminology, and it's awesome to see that VDAS is already picking up on this consistent terminology. But what ISO 19650 requires is a common data environment and then using open standards. Now, when we look at how government is asking for it, it's in different ways. So we've heard Colette talk about the guidelines that are being released, and these are developing all the time, and it's cool that they're actually coming together and aligning. But something like this, Health Infrastructure New South Wales, is great. Like they're releasing their design requirements in model objects, and it's in Revit format, but they also have an IFC version as well. And it's just a different way of getting those standards out. In terms of what Building Smart's doing, we have tickets have gone on sale for our future infrastructure summit that's in October, and that'll be in Brisbane and Melbourne. It's a great event, it'll have about 40 presenters, only speaking for sort of 15 minutes each in a TED-style thing. In terms of the other work we're doing, we have BIM Creds, which is about people getting rid of BIM wash, so people showing and sitting a test that they know what they're talking about, essentially. It's not that they can just use the acronyms. This has been used by organisations themselves, so BIM Consulting use it to test all of their staff. Oricon are doing that now as well, and educators are also using it. Bond University have started using it. Other training and teaching type seminars that we have coming up. There's a number about the Queen's Wharf project, which is actually, with a bit of luck, it'll win the Open BIM Award for Building Smart International. But on the 3rd, the 18th and the 25th of September, we'll be talking about these things, and then we move into our product series with GS1, and that's exploring how we can start to trace our products and identify them through the supply chain. Other things that we've done, we accredited our first BIM course, which is at Bond University. It's an entirely different type of course to what you've seen before. It's around micro-credentials, so it's a collection of separate courses that you can group together as a master's degree or a postgraduate or whatever. But we've set in place a way to accredit whether that course is actually teaching the type of stuff that we want to know within our workplaces. And then the other thing to sort of keep an eye on is our digital engineering community notice board. So there we're just placing what types of events that are coming up all around Australia and New Zealand. And there's all sorts of interesting stuff. I love Perth, you know, add BIM and beer and you get BIM beers. But this is a place where you can go and find out what kind of things are on. You can let us know that you've got something coming up and we'll post it because the community is really strong. It's small, but it's really strong. And these people will share everything they know with you, essentially. There's no problem with that. So thank you very much for this short amount of time to give you an idea of what Building Smart's about. We do need your help. If you'd like to become a member or support us, please come and see us. These guys are the people that support us at the moment. BIM Consulting and Architectus have been supporting us for about a decade. And it's kind of like it's almost, yeah, it's a believer thing. These are some other people that are supporting us as well. So thank you.